Welcome, dear listeners, to episode 118 of The Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, and finding just all sorts of ways to make recording this show as complicated as possible thanks to Nintendo. I'm your Splatoon voice chat host, Logan.
I am his iPhone co-host, Adam.
And I am the unfortunately not British co-host, Jonathan.
Wah, wah, wah.
You know, Jonathan, you say that, but let's be honest. Dear listeners, let's just be honest. You might as well be the third chair of this show. You come on here often enough as is. You almost have like a permanent chair.
True story. True story.
It's crazy.
I want mine pay doubled from zero.
We're getting paid?
I was like, wait a minute. So what?
I know we started this patron stuff.
I was like, your pay is going from 0 to Lucky Charms? Okay.
Oh,
We can do that.
Math jokes.
paying you in Mario cereal.
I was about to say the same thing,
go.
dude. Lucky Charms, Schmucky Charms. I want that Mario cereal.
You guys want to hear a funny story real quick before we get into the show about the Mario
Of course.
cereal? Okay.
Absolutely, I do.
So my mom, love my mom. She totally supports my nerdy stuff. And she saw a box of Mario cereal at like Walmart or something when she was grocery shopping. And she sent me a picture of it and was like laughing about it. And she asked if I had seen it yet. And I said, well, I'd seen it online, but I hadn't seen it in stores anywhere. And she's like, oh, so you don't know if it's any good or not? And I'm like, no, I mean, I haven't had a chance to get any. And so she said that she bought the box and she's going to bring it like next month when she comes and
That's
visits. And I'm
amazing.
like, is it going to be good then still? How long does cereal last? I'll still eat it
Oh,
on
you're
show, but anyway.
Better get her a good Mother's Day present, or you better have gotten her a good Mother's Day present.
It's pretty good. Did you like it, Jonathan?
Dude, I like it. I hear a lot of people like crapping on it. The thing is, though, like I didn't really grow up eating like sugary marshmallow cereal. We weren't really allowed to have it, so I'm going in with a clean slate. I mean, I've had Lucky Charms before. I've had all of them like at least once, but I'm not like familiar with them. So like I got a box and I was like, shoot, this is pretty good.
I thought you were going to say that you had a box and because you hadn't had cereal before, you just started bouncing all over the walls.
Okay, it's not. I've had sugar before, just
okay.
like that.
Gotcha.
Dude,
Gotcha.
I grew up on every sugary cereal, every candy. My teeth are basically the worst teeth ever.
Same.
And I still love it, man. I think it's a good marshmallow cereal.
Fair enough.
You're like, I'm old enough to know it's bad for me. Still doing it.
Oh, for sure. For
Adam.
sure. When I was living in Fort Worth, here's Adam's story time.
Let's
When
do
I
it.
was in Fort Worth, before they made me Logan, I don't know if you'll even remember this. Before I could go overseas, you have to do all these health checkups. You know of the one health checkup, Logan,
Oh, no.
that was really bad. I'm not talking about that one though. I had to go get a dental checkup, and I was kind of
That'd be
screwed
good.
no matter what. Like, no matter what they said, I had to get it done because they want you to go overseas like as perfect as you can, all your health, dental, everything, so that you don't have any fees really before you. And they said I had 9 cavities when I went.
Is that it? Dude, those are rookie
Yeah.
numbers. You got to get those up.
But the thing is, my teeth didn't hurt at all. After they did all the fillings, my teeth hurt twice as bad as they didn't hurt at all, and then they started hurting. It cost me I don't even know how much it cost me. But I was like, well, there goes my savings I had getting all this stupid dental work.
It's like you paid them to hurt you.
Seriously, it was the worst. It was.
It's like when you go. It's like when you go on a super strict diet, and like the first 3 days, you feel so sick. It's like
Yeah.
pizza was way better than this. Like I hate my life.
No doubt. There you go. There's our story time.
That's awesome.
That's a good
I like those. We should do those more often. They make me happy. You know what else makes me happy is the folks that support us over on patreon.com/reformgamers, and something that we do for all of our patrons, even if you support us at just the $1 tier, is you get entered into a monthly drawing for a free game for a giveaway. And we're going to do that giveaway right now. I've got the names of our patrons in my hat here. I'm going to shuffle them around a little bit, shake them around, move them around, get real crazy with it.
Get freaky.
One, two. This month's winner of our monthly game giveaway is Wesley Ray. Wesley Ray, man.
Hey, I know that guy.
I know
Wesley
that guy. A lot of
Ray.
people know that guy. He's in the
Very
Facebook group.
fitting.
Great guy. It is very fitting because he's a Nintenguy as well. Wesley Ray, check your DMs on Patreon. Gonna be hooking you up with something because I honestly can't remember what systems you have. But
Besides Nintendo stuff,
besides
I'm like,
Nintendo, I don't even know if he plays anything besides Nintendo. I don't know. But anyway, Wesley, check your DMs on Patreon. We're gonna send you some things about a game giveaway. See what we can do to hook you up. Things of that nature. Dear listeners, just a heads up before we go any further into the show. I took my Reco last week and went outside, or maybe it was Gareth's Reco. I went outside and had a horrible experience. I did yard work and now I'm exhausted and feel like I'm just gonna pass out at any point. So I'm out of it. Adam's recording from his iPhone and Jonathan's recording from space. So I mean, we're gonna see how well this episode goes. Jonathan's not really in space, I don't think.
They're not supposed to know I'm in space. I'm leaving this podcast.
it's like, have you seen that commercial of that lady who's like texting her brother or something from space? Anybody?
No.
I don't watch TV,
Oh.
so I won't.
It sounds great.
Miss joke. Miss joke.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah, we don't even have TVs. So.
I'm sure dear listeners probably know what you're talking about though, whereas I don't. But hey, at least I stayed at a Holiday Inn, right?
All right.
Deep cut.
All right.
Deep.
I don't get it.
Deep. It's from an older episode where Adam. We saw it was. All right, let's just get into the show. All right.
I'm sure everyone but me knows what you're talking about, so carry on.
Probably. Anyway, dear listeners, let's get into the show. Welcome to the Reformed Gamers. We like to start off the show like we always do with a little bit of what we've been playing and what we've been reading. In this section of What You've Been Playing, brought to you by dear patron David Skinner.
Yeah.
Bringing you the What Have You Been Playing $25 tier and up. David, thank you for supporting us at that tier there. Jonathan, Senor, since you are our third chair, what have you been playing, man? What you been enjoying?
Indie sensation, God of War.
Never heard of it.
Oh,
Coming at you hot in April last year.
dad of boats.
Dad of
Did you say Dad of Boats?
That's fantastic, dude. Dad of boat. Oh my god.
Dad of Boats.
I love that. Oh, you just killed you killed Logan. You killed him.
That put him over the edge.
Oh my god. Dude, I've legit never heard him laugh like that in my whole life.
It's so funny.
Dad of boat. That's rich, dude.
I'm
Oh
also at the same time thinking of the SBF VGS podcast. For those that don't know what that is, it's the Super Best Friend Video Game Sleepover podcast. And they, great name, great guys. They had this ongoing joke like a long time ago where they would just say they'd say the name of a game and call it Boats, Boats, Boats. And so now I'm thinking of his Dad of Boats, Boats, Boats. Jonathan, I'm sorry, man. Talk about Dad of Boats.
Oh, it's okay. It's all good. So, Dad of Boats. Obviously, if you keep up with video game, the industry at all, you have heard nothing but gushing praise for this game. So I'm not going to go on a tangent about it. I'll just say that I have actually beaten the full game. Haven't done a whole lot of crazy side stuff. I've done a decent amount, but mostly the main story because I could not tear myself away from it. It's so fantastic. It's everything everyone says it was. I went in with all the expectations and all the people hyping it up, and it still exceeded my expectations, blew me away. It just, I guess all I'll say is what really stood out to me is while this game is an absolute stunningly beautiful graphical achievement, it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that what defines the next generation of gaming is not just graphics, not even close. They have pushed the envelope in so many other areas of what makes a video game a video game. Man, the other dudes had better start scrambling because it is next level. They have set the bar very, very high. So I had a great time with it. Just rolled credits on it last night. Fantastic. And shout out to friend of the show, Derek Smith, for actually letting me borrow his copy because I'm in a spot right now where I'm not spending a ton of money on games. And so I skipped it and he was like, dude, I'll just let you borrow it. So
That's cool.
The homie Derek Smith, shout out, really appreciate that. I really enjoyed it. So That's all I've been playing, really.
What a dear friend. What a dear friend.
What a dear.
What a dear
Dude,
friend.
I think you're onto something right there. It's like I've been thinking here recently, like, I don't watch a ton of TV unless I'm like with my wife. I watch movies like when they're in the theater some, but like we don't watch a ton of movies. I'm like, and how do games, like as a 32 or soon to be 32-year-old guy, like why am I still into games as much? It's not just for the gameplay. I think it's the way the storytelling has been done. And that's what has made the impact, like made gaming a legitimate like media experience slash like community, like all of these things. It's kind of legitimized and not as just like, oh, those kids are just playing on their Nintendos trying to get like high score or whatever. It's like, no, we're playing like legit emotional stories that have impacts on people. Like that's what's taking gaming to this next level. And it's kind of crazy just reflecting on it with whether that's God of War, I know with what's the new game coming out? Detroit Become Human, that being a story, like there's so many aspects of where you have your couple games like, okay, Fortnite, a lot of these games that are very much just gameplay focused, but your biggest games outside of maybe Fortnite is really ones with these great stories.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got your esports games. I guess those are always different, but man, that's what's legitimizing, I think, the gaming industry more than anything. People are finally being like, this is more than just these. This is storytelling. Like a movie is storytelling, like a book is storytelling, like a TV show is storytelling. We have the opportunity to really affect people on a deeper level than just the superficial stuff. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they took storytelling to an entirely new level. I mean, when you out Naughty Dog, you have done something. I mean, that is unbelievable. And I heard people say stuff like that, and I was like, did they really out Naughty Dog? Let's be honest. Like Naughty Dog is unparalleled. But dude, I think they did. I think they surpassed them. And that's nothing against Naughty Dog. They're still incredible, and I'm sure The Last of Us 2 will be, a masterpiece. But man, like they really. I mean, you want to talk about storytelling in games versus movies? I mean, I feel like I'm a part of that world, a part of Kratos and Atreus's story, like because I had a hand in it. Like it feels like I'm really attached to it. And you spend an ample amount of time with those characters, and the dialogue, every single line of dialogue is, I mean, none of it is throwaway. None of it is wasted.
Yeah.
Every line and every moment is like something that adds to the story. And I did not want to ever stop listening to anyone that was talking. So I just, I said I wouldn't ramble, and here I go. So play that freaking game if you've slept on it. It's wonderful.
That's good.
Yeah, man. So Adam, good sir, what about you?
Finished up God of War. I think we talked about that on the last episode. What I've been dabbling in still, getting through winter in Stardew Valley, feeling pretty good about where I'm at there, really gearing up for the spring. Kind of feeling like. Go ahead, what were you saying?
You got those farm animals going in the wintertime?
Oh yeah. I got 4 cows.
Yeah,
3 goats. I've got 4 chickens and I think 2 ducks.
Now, dude, I've got my
fungus growing in the cave.
Yeah,
I've got some trees tapped. I've got a couple honeys growing. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
I got my mayonnaise churning, and so we're making some money. You know what I'm saying? And we're hitting the mines hard. We're gonna get to, probably in the next day or two. We're gonna finally reach the bottom of the mine. We're upgrading our stuff. I'm feeling good. I'm gonna be ready to rock and roll.
But you are killing it. Holy cow,
dude! I read up a lot of like, don't screw up Stardew Valley your first time. And so I took a lot of notes on like tips and tricks, but I feel like I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to be ready. I'm trying to finish the community building. I've got like the furnace room done. I've got like the playroom done, like the foraging one. I'm working on. I really wanted to get the greenhouse done by winter. I've talked about that on other episodes. Didn't get there, but still enjoying that game. But I'm feeling like I'm due for a new Nintendo game. Like that's the only game I've really played in a while. So I'd really like to get in the golf store. I hear that was really good.
That one was good.
But I think actually today the day we're recording, the new Mario Tennis demo came out. So I need to download that and try it out.
Well, yeah, don't rush. You can download it, but nothing works until June 1st. Not even player versus computer locally. Not even that.
So
That requires an online connection because Nintendo. So
fair enough. Well, I got some time on that. But that's kind of and we'll talk about this later in the episode. That's kind of of games that we know are coming out. That's probably the one I'm most excited for. Because we don't have a release date on Smash yet. So I'm excited about that. But the game I've been playing the most is Ni no Kuni 2. Big fan of the first one. I've got some thoughts about it. Logan, have you been dabbling in this still?
I'm about 30 minutes in from the last time. So I'm not that far in at all. I just barely started.
I mean, it's got the Ni no Kuni 1 feel. I mean, it's in the same setting, Ding Dong Dell. No spoilers there.
Wait, what?
Ding Dong Dell is the name.
That is the best name ever.
Isn't it though? Isn't it?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and so the world's pretty much the same. The way that they do the overworld and the way you get around and things like that, a lot of that's very similar. The biggest change, I mean, storytelling, very heartfelt. Again, that's kind of go back to my rant on storytelling. This job does a pretty good job at that. Especially with the first one and this one, I'm not done, but I feel like I'm still in the intro. I think I'm technically in chapter 4, but I feel like they're still introducing what am I really doing. But the biggest difference is kind of the combat mechanics. It went from being kind of like kind of a role, like a real-time strategy with how you did some of your magic and attacks and things like that with these little monsters and things like that, to it's more of like an action RPG, JRPG, where you get like your triangle for powerful attack, square for normal attack. You've got some magic combos and things like you can do, and it's still a lot of fun. But I like the old model better, if I'm being honest. Like that's what made Ni no Kuni super unique, in my opinion, was the combat. And so while it's not as maybe unique, Ni no Kuni 2 isn't. It's still a lot of fun, and I'm still like, I mean, I think I'm 8 hours into the story now, and I'm still like super engaged. The characters are always really interesting. They've always got some weird, different. I mean, it's a Japanese game, so you're gonna have a lot of weird stuff. But I'm really, really enjoying it still. So I'm about to go on vacation next week. I'm gonna have my Vita with me, so I'm gonna try to remote play some. But next week's probably gonna be mainly Switch and maybe even, I don't know. I've got like Severed on my Vita that I never got around to playing. I've got a couple Vita games I might try to dabble into while I'm on vacation, but I'm also gonna be doing a lot of reading on the beach. So yeah, Logan, I want you to play some more because I'm really interested in your opinion. So
I'm trying, but the night that we're recording this, Dark Souls Remastered comes out, Detroit Become Human comes out, and I want to.
Are you getting both of them?
I'm gonna try. I mean, I've got Dark Souls pre-ordered, but I'm gonna try and get Detroit. I'm gonna try and swing it. See if I can play it for an hour tomorrow, and then get that onto YouTube. But we'll see how it goes. Nice. I want to play more. Like the opening did interest me. Like it reminded me a lot of. I think I told you this. It reminded me a lot of Narnia in some ways, and how those books start out, and just how you kind of enter into this kingdom with the whimsical kind of characters and just the really cool look, and there's a battle going on. And so I mean, it got me sucked in right away. It's just I've got all these other games going on right now that I'm just like, I just don't know when I'm gonna get back into it, which I guess leads into what I've been playing. One of the games that I am kind of stuck on is Stardew Valley. And I'm sorry, dear listeners, to bring this up for a third episode in a row, but it might be kind of coming to a close for a little while because I'm starting to get a little burnt out on the game. I'm about halfway through spring of year 2, and I just like it. It's still like the same fun game, but I'm just kind of getting bored with it. Like I've done all the stuff in the winter of upgrading the coop and the barn, max those out. And then I've got like all these sprinklers going on in my farm, so I literally don't have to do anything except plant the stuff. Plant the stuff, that sounds bad. Like plant, I mean, you know what I mean? It's Stardew Valley. And so I'm just kind of getting bored with it at this point because literally all I'm doing is fishing and making money that way. And I would go into well, that's kind of a spoiler. Yeah, so I'm just kind of getting to a point where I'm burnt out on the game, so I might shelve it for a little bit. But with this episode coming up, our Nintendo themed episode, I was like, I need to play a Nintendo game. And so I've been playing Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze on the Switch ever since it came out, but I actually put some more time into the game this past week and actually really got into it. And my thoughts on this game, because I finished it up last night, really great platformer, probably one of the best out there, but unfortunately in a world where Celeste exists and you can play it on a Switch, I kind of prefer that, mainly because I don't think any of the platforming sections in Tropical Freeze are too difficult, but what makes them completely frustrating is when you're doing really well on a platforming section, but there's this one point that you get stuck at for multiple times, and then when you die or fall down a pit or whatever, you go all the way back at the beginning of that section. Whereas I think what Celeste hit really well is this balance of there's this one long platforming section, but it's broken up into rooms. And so when you fail on that one, you go right back to the beginning, but you can just immediately get right back into it and try it again. Whereas Donkey Kong, you have to go all the way back to the beginning, and then you have to try going through those sections again to get to the section that you failed at, with no real guarantee that you're going to surpass at that time, or if something's going to come up and make it a little more challenging. And so there were several times, especially in the last two worlds, where I'd be going through a platforming section and then something would change last minute, or you'd have to wait for a platform to fall before the other platform opened up for you to get onto, and I would just constantly die. And so I'd have to go all the way back, repeat all that stuff to get to the point where I lost. And I'm like, I get that this game came out before Celeste, but in a world where Celeste is out, platforming games need to have that kind of ability to get back into that section that you just failed immediately, or I'm probably not going to play it, because it's just really frustrating. But and then of course people will probably want to know this. I did play through the game in funky mode with Funky Kong with a little surfboard and all that, so it was pretty easy. And I could see in some of the levels where if you played as Donkey Kong with just two hearts, it would be really hard. So I'm going to go back through and play it again as Donkey Kong. But it's a cool game. I'll write a review up for the website, kind of going further depth into some of the things I brought up and all that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. Waiting on Dark Souls to unlock on my system. Waiting to use that 20% off coupon for Detroit. And then we'll talk about that next episode. But let's go ahead and move on to what we've been reading real quick. Brought to you by Gareth Evans. You guys know who that is. We had him on last episode to talk about Xbox. Jonathan, good sir, what have you been reading?
So I decided to start up the book of Jeremiah recently and kind of read through that during my quiet time. And I'm just started. I'm in Jeremiah 1, and the most recent chunk of it that stuck out to me was verses 4 through 10. And I won't read the whole thing, but basically it's God saying, coming to Jeremiah and saying, look, before you were even born, I knew you were going to be a prophet. I appointed you to be a prophet, and this is how it's going to be. And let's go. And Jeremiah was like, I don't know how to speak. I'm really young. And God's like, don't tell me you're really young. Don't tell me you don't know what to do. I'm going to command you and you will speak. And then down in verse 17, it says, but you dress yourself for work, arise and say to them everything that I command you. Do not be dismayed by them, lest I dismay you before them. And an ongoing conversation, I think I mentioned this on a previous podcast I was on, but an ongoing conversation I have with my community guys is just boldness to go and share the gospel and speak to others about the things of the Lord. I have a coworker actually that I've been having a lot of conversations with. He's a fellow believer, but just in my humble opinion, there are some major theological differences that it's not like small things. In my mind, it's some pretty major stuff. And I've just been, at the beginning, I was sort of reluctant to really be bold and kind of say anything, and we disagree, whatever. But I don't know. I've been really convicted lately to try to be more bold and speak into his life more and pray about it. And actually, when I go home, do research on the topics we had and come back and discuss it more with him and that kind of thing. So just a really convicting passage for me.
That's good.
Yeah, man. Adam, what about you, bro?
Yeah, I'm reading a couple books, just in my personal reading. I'm reading one called Last Hope Island. I think I kind of mentioned it briefly, maybe on one of the podcasts that we recorded, and it's kind of looking at World War II, England, and how as these countries are kind of fleeing, as they get captured by the Nazis, just the hope of getting to England and kind of regrouping there. That's not the book I'm going to talk about. I'll because that's like 400 pages or something crazy. I'm like, why am I doing this 500 pages? I mean, it's super interesting, but I'm like, this is going to be a summer long reading. It's not one that I'm just going to sit down and read it all just by itself. So the other book I've started with it is a book by Matt Carter and Aaron Ivey called Steal Away Home. It's about Charles Spurgeon and a guy named Thomas Johnson. Thomas Johnson was a slave in America in the 1800s, and of course, we all know who Charles Spurgeon is. And what's really interesting about this book is it's a historically, it's an accurate book. These guys did all this study, just looking in the history of Thomas Johnson and Spurgeon, but they write it as a novel. They write it as in like they recognize that they have to fill in some gaps, and they talk about that in the introduction. So they do take a little bit of liberty as they're kind of sharing it. It's not just like a factual book of like, this is his theological points on this or this or this or a sermon. It's written almost as a novel of Charles Spurgeon life and his friendship with this slave in America. And so I'm about 60 pages in or so, but I want to read. It's early in their. It's kind of talking about a little bit of Spurgeon's kind of conversion and sitting outside. He's at his grandfather's church, and a missionary friend of his grandfather is preaching. And this just really stuck out to me. I'm going to read this paragraph. He's talking about seeing Jesus, not seeing Jesus physically, but with eyes of faith. And he says, the pastor, this is a quotation of the pastor. He says, "You there in the back of the room, you will never be alone if you see Jesus. Brother on the edge of your pew, you will never feel weak if you see his strength. Sister near the center aisle, you will not feel helpless if you simply look upon Jesus and see your great helper. My friends, oh, that you would see Jesus. You have heard of him as Savior. Now see him with the eye of faith. See him as your friend upon whom you can rest your weary head, and into whose ear you can whisper your tale of sorrow. Even though you walk through the valley of shadows, you can lean on your beloved Jesus and experience the sweetest of joys. Even in the desert, you can truly see Jesus with the eye of faith, and the bareness of your soul will bloom like a garden of pink roses. Oh, how sweet it is to see Jesus, to truly see him and to know him." And so I was telling Hannah as I was reading it this afternoon, I'm like, I was almost in tears just reading the summary, really, and some different quotations of this pastor's sermon. As I'm assuming that a lot of what we have of this sermon really came from some sort of writing that Spurgeon did on it. And so just kind of hearing him rehash this sermon, it was just reflecting on the goodness of Christ in my life, and how, there's probably been times where my sin has blinded me to certain things of even not even necessarily always being able to see Jesus. But man, when I've been able to see Jesus in the way that he has, as he's brought me out of different downtrodden areas of life, whether that's through adoption or just through other ups and downs of our life, like just knowing and seeing Jesus at work. Even this week, like there's some different things going on with my job here, just having to make some adjustments with hiring and things like that. Just wondering, okay, Lord, what are you going to do? But trusting that he's working out stuff that I wouldn't believe him if he told me. And so just trusting in him, trusting that I'm going to see something in the next year that God has done, and we're going to be able to look back and say, like, okay, Lord, now I see why you did that. I see why you orchestrated all of these different things in my life. Thank you. And so just a really cool section there in that book. So again, Steal Away Home. Hopefully by the time we record next time, I can give a better recommendation, as I will hopefully have finished it by then.
That's awesome, man.
I think I have that book on my Kindle, so I might have to queue that one up next. And,
yeah, it's super interesting. Super interesting. Just a unique style of writing.
Yeah.
You think of Spurgeon as a sermon, biography, theological thing, but this is not that. It's super interesting. Just another way to look at someone who many of us really revere.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, to quickly go through what I've been reading, this past week we had our graduation Sunday, which a lot of churches have that, where you bring your graduating seniors up front, you embarrass them a little bit, you give them a Bible and maybe a track or something like that, and just kind
What Bible did you give them?
I gave them the Message version because
I knew you were going to say that.
no,
I knew you were gonna say.
we got because I love the ESV so much, and I don't believe in any other translation. No, I mean, I'm kind of kidding on that, but we gave them ESV study Bible, so the guys got like some pretty like a thin line version of the study Bibles with the study notes, pictures of the things like the historical cities and the arcs or the ark and those kind of things, so they would get an idea of what those things look like and give them some perspective.
Nice.
And then my wife actually let her pick out the Bibles for the girls, and we got them journaling Bibles because my wife really she enjoyed hers when she had it, and I was like, that's a good idea, because a lot of the girls I've noticed in our youth group tend to like write out stuff in their Bible, and so I think they'll really appreciate the journaling margins. And then for me, I picked up like 3 or 4 Reformation study Bibles. No, I'm kidding. I wanted to, though, really bad. I saw see, you get me talking about Bibles, dude. Now I'm going to go off on a tangent. But no, they came out with this thin line version of the Reformation study Bible. So gorgeous. Almost bought one. Anyway, so I've been working on the sermon for it, and it was rooted in 2 Timothy 3:12-17, where Paul is addressing Timothy and just kind of letting him know that, hey, you're going to be persecuted for preaching this message, but evil people will go from bad to being worse, deceiving and being deceived. But as for you, cling to the word of God, remember those who taught you, and remain steadfast. And he talks about all scripture being breathed out by God at that point there. And so I was just thinking about that verse, and I was thinking about really just the whole entire passage. It's really encouraging. But one thing kind of stuck out to me, and I tied this into Hebrews 13:7, where it says, remember your leaders who taught you the word of God. Think of all the good that has come from their lives and follow the example of their faith. That's from the New Living Translation version. And it just got me thinking about, it kind of forced me to sit and look at just briefly all of the godly men and women that have kind of spoken into my life, who took the time to invest in me and help me understand the Bible and pray with me and really just kind of bring me alongside them and see how they interact as a family and see what it means for a dad or for the father to lead his family, to take care of his kids, and to provide for them, and what it meant for the mom to lovingly raise up their kids, and even just seeing how the kids interact all that with their parents and stuff. And so they taught me the Bible, but then they also showed me how that actually works itself out inside the family. And so I was just thinking about it, and I just couldn't help but be just super thankful because I mean, they didn't have to invest in me, but they took time out of their schedules, out of their life, to invest in me and even other people. And it was just really cool to see that. And so that was something I encourage our students with, is like, you guys are going off to this college, to colleges, to different cities, different towns, where you won't know anybody, and you might make some good friends. But there's going to be times where you're going to be tested, you're going to be pushed, and you're going to be stressed out. And so you just remember that when you're down and out and you feel like just leaving school or quitting your job, remember the people that have taught you the gospel, that have taught you the Bible, and maybe even send them an email or give them a call or something, or visit with them if you can. And just remember that, you're not in this alone. And so it was just really cool. That was just one little aspect of the sermon, but it's just something that to me means a lot, because I can remember all of the people that took time out of their lives to invest in me. And it just means a lot, because without them, I don't know that I'd necessarily know as much as I do, or maybe even handle my marriage the way that I do now because of their examples and their biblical truths that they shared. So just something to think about is just remember the people that have taught you the gospel, that have taught you the word of God, that have been there for you, and don't take it for granted, because yeah. Anyway,
that's even kind of what they were talking about again in that Steal Away Home book. It's like Spurgeon, like he reaped the benefits of, and this kind of, goes a mom who loved the Lord, and a grandmother who loved the Lord, and a grandfather who loved the Lord, and those people investing in him. Yeah. And so whether that's friends or family or mentors or whatever, like really understanding the blessing it is to have people around us who love the Lord and help us to love him better.
Yeah. It's awesome, man. Because it really just, I'm going on a tangent. I'm going to hold myself back, but I mean, it's just cool because it's this cycle of just encouraging one another. And it just keeps, I mean, it fulfills what it says in Hebrews: consider how you can spur one another on to good works. And then when you've got that going, it's exactly what it is. So good stuff, man. You know what else is good? Nintendo and their Nintendo Switch and all that fun stuff. And of course, this episode continuing on, and I guess unfortunately bringing our state of series to a close, we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo. So Adam, man, I'm gonna hand it over to you, man. So what are we doing with Nintendo? How are we talking about them? Oh, side note, this section of our topic of the show is brought to you by dear VIP Eric Bryant. Eric, thank you for supporting the show at $25 on patreon.com/reformgamers. Adam, good sir, Nintendo, give it to us.
Well, first of all, Sega does what Nintendo don't. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, get out of here with that business. Does Sega still exist? Not really.
Rest in peace, Sega. Yeah, there's like 45 different models that plug into your TV, and you got 40 games right there. You know what I'm saying?
Gross.
Golden Axe, holla. Anyways, we'll do the state of Sega next week. Loot boxes.
Gross.
I tell you what,
gross.
That's
really? Will we really? I mean, I'll do it, but really?
I tell you what, man. When Sega's putting out greatest of all time hits like Sonic Forces, it makes me thank God that Sega does what Nintendo don't. Cause
I'll tell you what. Anyways, let's not get too sidetracked. We're gonna do what we have been doing. We're gonna look at Nintendo's. Now I almost said Sega's. Nintendo's past. We're gonna look at kind of what's going on here in the present, and then looking to the future games that are coming out, what we're hoping to see out of E3 at the Treehouse, but also the Nintendo Direct. But I mean, one big thing that we've been looking at is, and I don't want us to just think a majority of this will be the Nintendo Switch, but there will be moments where we can't ignore the Nintendo 3DS. You know, it still is a major player. When you have, this kind of goes into the sales numbers here. Let me pull it up again. I'm working on an iPad and an iPhone, so I'm not as snappy as I normally am. As of, this would have been April, at the end of March 31st, the 3DS has sold 73 million units. 72 and a half. That's a ton of 3DSs. So as much as I am very much in the boat of stop it, stop making games for the Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah.
There are 73 million out there. That's like, why would we stop? You know, I get that you have to get to a point where you're like, we transition out of that. I'm kind of pissed that they came out with Mario Party. I'm sorry for the language. Some people don't like that. I'm kind of angry that Mario Party 100 came out on the 3DS and not the Switch. But there's 73 million Nintendo 3DS units out in the wild. So that's a ton of systems out there. So Nintendo already going into kind of owning the handheld market in many ways outside of that little lovable Vita island that we often talk about. Now looking at the Switch, the Switch has sold, again, as of March 31st, so if you look at it even to date now, over 18 million units. So that's off to, we've talked about this at length and multiple times throughout the podcast, how much the Switch is crushing it. And that's kind of going to jump us right into why is it crushing it. So let's just talk about some of the victories that has gotten Nintendo to that 18 plus million Switches out in the wild. Jonathan, being our Nintendo guru, you and Wesley, I don't know if many guys who know Nintendo better than you two guys. What's one or two of the big victories that you've seen that's kind of launched Nintendo? Because we're coming off of, again, if we're looking at the past, we can't ignore the Wii U either. And kind of the epic fail that was and all of these issues that it had. So to rebound from that, what was some of these big victories that they've had to kind of make the Wii U a thing of the past, and the Switch, man, no one's even talking about the Wii U because the Switch is so great.
Yeah, dude. Well, first of all, if I may, just a note on that 18 million sold. First of all, 18 million is a pretty impressive number because that was as of March of this year, which is a 1-year milestone. Second of all, 10 million of those units were sold between March 3rd and December 31st of 2017. The next 8 million were sold between January 1st and March 31st of 2018. So you talk about picking up steam.
Well, they were out there. People could find them. For a long time, you couldn't find
exactly.
them.
Right. Every time I walk into a Walmart or Best Buy now, I see Switches stacked. So I'm like, okay, yeah, they're in full swing. So that is, dude, you talk about, like I said, picking up steam. The Switch is not only selling well, but it is selling faster and faster and faster. Now, who knows what the numbers are going to be, Q2, Q3, whatever, but the trajectory is pretty good. Now, you mentioned the Wii U. Obviously that was a colossal failure, but one other thing that I was sort of thinking of when I was listening to the PlayStation and Xbox, state of podcasts you guys have been doing the past couple of weeks, is that I think we're at a very, very interesting juncture in the industry as a whole right now, because all three companies now have had colossal failures and colossal successes. Every single one of them has risen to the top, which you had Xbox 360 just killing it. You had the PS2 killing it. You had the Nintendo Wii killing it. They each have had their moments of like meteoric success. And then following the Wii, you have the Wii U, crash and burn. Following the PS2, you had the PS3. I don't know if I'd say crash and burn, but it was
It took a while to get there. Out the gate. Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. And you guys covered that last week. That was rough, or 2 weeks ago. And then, you have the Xbox One. Again, crash and burn. So they've all had their highs. They've all had to eat crow coming off of their highs. And so now we've already seen the PlayStation rise back to meteoric success of PS4. The Switch, well on the way. Microsoft will kind of see what they do. But now they've all gone back to that high. Are they dumb enough to forget their mistakes and do the same thing again? You know what I mean? So I think we're just an interesting precipice right now of I'm hoping they learn and just keep on staying humble, thinking about the gamers and continuing to push forward, but I don't know. Totally lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I was going to talk about next.
We're talking about victories. What are some victories?
I think it's a pretty awesome mixture of the exclusive games they have and the handheld system. It kind of feels like I love the Switch. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's awesome. But somehow I can't shake this feeling at the back of my mind that feels like they sort of cheated their way here. It doesn't feel like it doesn't quite make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I remember coming into the Switch, it was like after that January presentation, it was like, oh, what are they doing? Like, this is really bad.
Everyone was making fun of the commercial where they're like sitting on the rooftop playing their Switch or playing NBA 2K at the park. It's like, no one's going to do that.
No one's going to do that.
This was gonna, and then it came.
I was going to say, like, I was playing it in an airport and I was expecting to have crowds of kids or just people like coming around to like, oh, it's a Nintendo Switch. Didn't happen. I was like, Nintendo, false advertisement. I'm upset. I want people to just want me for my Switch. I want people to just hang out with me for my Switch, and it's not happening. How dare you?
Yeah, but like in ways, it still feels like, you know, because everyone was like, look at the last console that released halfway through a life cycle, you know, Dreamcast, and look what happened to the Dreamcast. Switch released halfway through and is crushing it. So it's like, I don't know, like they played their cards almost too right. I feel like they did as much as they could, and then honestly, luck took the rest. It just feels like to me. So I'm not saying they're on borrowed time or anything. I think with the promise of what's coming up in the future, they'll be fine. But like, you know, for now, yeah, they with Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, and all these like hits coming one after the other, after the other, after the other, it really propelled that system forward. And then you have all these incredible games just anywhere. And especially as a dad, the way the Switch slots itself between the cracks of all the busyness of my lifestyle, it just works out super well. And even people that aren't parents or that are still super busy, I'm hearing the same things of like, yeah, I just like, I can grab my Switch and play it in situations, lots of situations where I can't with my PS4 or my Xbox One or or my PC, what have you. So it just like the fact that you had the full power of the handheld on the go, I'm not even sure Nintendo realized what a major hit that was going to be, but that has been a phenomenal difference.
Yeah.
I mean, people are like, yeah, you know, I heard early on somebody was like, I read a comment somewhere on the amazing internet, and someone was like, yeah, okay, it's a handheld, but like, what other gimmicks does it have? And I'm like, well, wait, hold on a second. That's really cool. Like, let's not overlook that as some small little thing. Like that makes all the difference. That's why it's amazing.
Yeah, it's also one of the big reasons why I find myself buying my games on the Switch is because I can take them with me on the go. I mean, yeah, I like my trophies and all that, but like I can play these games on the go. I can take it with me to the office, or I can take it with me to, you know, the garage if I'm having someone fix my car or something like that. And so I've wound up buying 2 copies of games, one for Switch and one for PS4, but I'm getting out of that because I'm just going to play it on the Switch. Like, I can take it with me wherever I go. Like, yeah, it's amazing to see how people just completely underestimate that functionality, because it's a huge win.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how you say that, talking about like trophies and like, because looking at generations back, not that I'm a big trophy hunter, but if I can get a trophy, why not get a trophy? And so if I would have ever had the option to say, get a game on PlayStation or Nintendo, you asked me any time before this, I would always say, I'm going to buy it on PlayStation. Because why not at least have some sort of achievement hunting and being like, it's going to show what I've got done. But at this point, if there is a game on both, especially indie games, and that kind of goes into another victory that they have, is they've kind of taken control of, to some degree, the indie market.
Yeah.
Because if it's on the PlayStation, if it's on Xbox, and if it's on all 3 of them, most people, I would say, are getting it on the Switch. And that's why the indies, that's why it's been such a big success. The Wii U wasn't getting that. And that's been talked about a ton. The Wii U was not getting the third-party games, but a couple of them had major success on the Switch, and now they're all flocking there. I mean, I could have got Stardew Valley on the Vita. Now it's coming out, or it is out now. I could have got it for PS4, but what did I do? I got it for the Switch. Why? Because I want to be able to take it and play in spurts. It loads up, and I'm ready to go in 2 seconds. Like Zelda is a huge game. I played a majority of that game on the go. I know, Jonathan, you played how much of that? How much did you actually play, Doc, compared to on the go? I'm probably guessing a majority was on the go.
Yep.
And
because
so it's like, yeah, go ahead.
Well, sorry, I was going to say, I probably would have rather played more dock, because, I mean, it is a higher resolution. I have a pretty nice 50-inch, 1080p TV. And so it looks more beautiful on the TV, not by a huge margin, but it technically is beautiful. And given the chance, yeah, I'll go for a better look. But the fact of the matter was, like, I just don't have, again, I don't have the time, like, to sit in front of my TV. And that sounds weird, but it's like, you know, all of you that have Switches, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
You got Daniel Tiger on the TV. You know what I'm saying? You can always play.
Or, you know, like, I
Octonauts. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
So, like, yeah, so.
Does Daniel Tiger, the mascot for Frosted Flakes, did they change his name, or who are we talking about?
Daniel Tiger.
Daniel Tiger is like he's like a cartoon for kids. He's like this educational little friendly tiger. And so knowing Jonathan has a little child, a little tyke running around, I figured that kid's gonna want to watch TV. Well, hey, you watch your episode, I'm gonna get a little bit of Zelda in.
Right.
You know, we both win.
I'm sure I'll understand that someday then. Okay, my bad.
Oh, you're good. No, so I mean, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's just I probably played Zelda 70% on the go, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, any other, you guys, Logan, you got any more like just things that's been like a major victory in this cycle for Nintendo? Anything that really sticks out to you that we haven't really hit yet?
Not really. I mean, we hit them all. The portability of the Switch is the one that I would bring up alongside the massive library of indies on the Switch, and how in some weird way they feel like they play the best on the Switch in some way. I'm not quite sure what that, like how that is exactly, but it just all the indie games that I've played, I much prefer them on the Switch, and so that's it.
Sorry if I can interject one more time. I had a thought earlier that I lost it and it just came back to me. What's phenomenal to me about the indie sensation that Switch has become, the whole Nindies thing, is that PS4 cornered that market a long time ago, and they were the indie platform. They came to indie developers, worked with them, supported them, got their stuff seen and bought, and like they championed that in a really cool way. And then the Switch just kind of like sauntered up and took it, and that's no small thing. I mean, the indie sensation was well established on PlayStation 4, very, very firmly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like indies just belong on Switch, and everyone's just kind of there now. And it's like, well, hold on a second. How did they do that? Because especially since a lot of these are old games. I mean, Shovel Knight is an old freaking game. That's 4 years old, I think, right? 4 or 5 years old.
I feel like it's older than that, isn't it?
No, I think it's 2013, 2014.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't predate that. Oh. But like, it feels like it was just waiting for the Switch to come out. And then, of course, it hits with the Plague Knight DLC, which is just freaking awesome. And it just feels like it was made for it. So that is no small achievement what they did, because that market was already cornered pretty much.
Yeah.
And once again, it's like, how did they even do that? How is this possible? Can this keep happening? Like, I don't know. It's just amazing.
Wait, was it?
I mean, one thing I kept. Sorry.
What was it? Plague Knight or Spectre Knight?
Sorry, Spectre of Torment. You're right. Plague Knight was the second one.
I was like,
excuse me. Yeah, Spectre of Torment.
I hated Plague Knight.
We should have invited somebody who knew more about Nintendo. This guy don't even know the different DLC packs for
bro.
Shovel Knight. Oh my gosh, amateurs.
Well, something
topic. Breath of the Wild. What a piece of crap.
It's the same game. It's the same game as all the other Zelda games.
Yeah.
Something I was gonna add just real quick too, even with the indies, is that the indies have sold the most on Switch. Also, even with when you take the sales of those same games from PS4, Xbox, and PC and put them all together, they still pale in comparison to the Switch's numbers of sales for the indies. It's crazy how that works.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's one little thing. There's one little thing I was gonna even add just to this idea of victories is just some. We kind of joke. I kind of joked about the Joy-Cons when they first came out, of like, these things are so expensive, but now with all the different color combinations that they have, and you can actually find them if you want to get them. Like, that's a little thing. It's not this major thing, but that's another cool thing that kind of sets Nintendo apart. Is I've got a blue and a yellow combo on mine. And, you can kind of find them even on eBay if you want to get them separate or whatever. That's just another cool thing that, you have your limited editions or whatever, these different consoles, and you've got your different controllers, but like to see your own little combos on the Switch is just cool.
Yeah.
It's just a cool little thing. So
it's a more functional version of the faceplates for the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so let's keep
maintain-
moving, or we'll. Sorry, go ahead. What do you maintain?
I still maintain Joy-Con's a horrible name, but yeah. we
Oh,
can move
yeah.
on.
Sure.
But they bring joy,
Switch was horrible.
Jonathan.
Also,
Yeah, they bring the joy to your cons.
that kind of leads us into stumbles. The 1-2 Switch. How awful is that game?
Still haven't played it.
So yeah, a couple stumbles. Like, where's Nintendo still kind of lagging behind? Logan, we'll throw that to you first. What's Nintendo like? All right, they've got a great trajectory, a good foundation, but I mean, Nintendo still definitely has a couple issues. Like, what's one thing that kind of sticks out to you?
This is the one I'm gonna bring this one up, and this is the one that I have been dreading and praying that I would be wrong about. But the fact that there's no virtual console coming to the system, it's like, what? Like,
Yeah.
you have the Switch is portable. Can you imagine playing A Link to the Past portable? Which I guess I know a lot of the 3DS owners right now are going, I can do that right now. But what I'm saying is, on a superior handheld, like, can you imagine having the entire SNES library on that thing, or even some like N64 classics on there? Like, it would be perfect to have all of those on the Switch, and it finally be a unified system instead of having to buy this Game Boy game on the Wii U and then buy this Super Nintendo game on the 3DS because they're not on the same platform. Like, it was a huge missed opportunity, and hopefully they'll just surprise us at E3 and they're just being coy about it and saying, oh no, it's not coming, and then at E3 they announce it. But it's just, I can't believe it. Like,
and the fact that it's been on everything else.
Exactly.
It's been on the Wii U, and the 3DS. Like, you finally have something that, I mean, the 3DS, of course, is killing it, and the Wii killed it. But it's like, why not just, it cannot be that hard to add. Why not just add that? It's only going to make you more money.
Well, that
and like,
I was gonna say, didn't they have like some kind of NES game in the Switch's like firmware at some point that if you kind of
golf. I think it was golf.
Was that what it was?
Or tennis. It was golf or tennis, like from NES. I forget.
So it's like the stuff's there. I mean, I don't know. It's just
emulation is not that hard. Let's not. If they can make gaming portable, they can freaking put emulators on the Switch. That's all it takes. Let's be real.
On 3DS,
I mean, not even to mention the fact that the emulation on their classic console so far has been absolutely flawless. Like, it is unbelievably good. So why can't, honestly, take the entire piece of software on the NES and SNES Classic and just dump it as a single app on the Switch? I mean, obviously, I know there's like, you have to code it and whatever, like port it, but still, like, as is, take the whole thing. I launch the game, quote unquote, and it just opens up the NES Classic as is. Like, at least that, but they're not going to do that. I will say though, to play a little bit of hardcore devil's advocate for a moment, and I'll preface this by saying I don't really believe this, but it's possible. They have been very, very, very careful with their wording in such a way that it leaves things pretty open. And when they denounced Virtual Console, they said Virtual Console will not be returning. They said something like it won't be returning in its previous form, or like it won't be returning as players have known it, or like it's not coming back exactly the way you knew it, but it might be coming back. They just didn't say that second part, right? So I can't help but wonder if it's honestly just going to be Netflix, where Virtual Console and all the games are going to be available, but you just subscribe and you just play whatever you want, or they rotate through a selection. Like, there's 50 games available any given month, and they rotate through them. And honestly, Netflix does that too, because we know for a fact right now 20 NES games are going to be available just like that if you subscribe to the online service, and that's just the beginning. So could they bolster that library and just you subscribe and get whatever you want? It would, if they do that, then the statement that hey, virtual consoles not returning like we used to have it, that still stands because you can't buy the individual games anymore. You can just sub and take your pick, which to be honest with you, I prefer that. I mean, that's Xbox Game Pass level of like, you know what I mean? Just give me a library and let me play whatever I want.
Yeah. And I think let's kind of transition because we're already basically there. Let's talk about Nintendo's online infrastructure. There's been a ton of issues with it, whether that's, the Splatoon, a headset, phone combination to try to party up with your friends and not even really being able to do that well. So there's a missing there, the inability to party chat. And we've heard some of the reasons, like they are trying to keep this, super padded pillow area where no one's going to say anything mean to anybody because it's Nintendo. But let's just talk about the Nintendo infrastructure because that has been, they've got, and Jonathan kind of hinted at it with this fall with the release, it has to be way better. Like to stumble again, like we're talking about something that hasn't been an issue for easily a generation for PlayStation and Microsoft. Like they've had some stumbles here and there, but overall, you've been able to party chat, you've been able to get in with your friends in games, you've been able to do all these things. It's been like piece of cake. But yet Nintendo, I mean, playing Mario Kart, that's like the only one that's been relatively, and I will say relatively, smooth. So let's just talk about that, Jonathan. Why don't you just speak to like some of the struggles that the online infrastructure has kind of presented?
I mean, number one Nintendo fanboy coming at you with a hot take. Their current online infrastructure is absolutely inexcusable.
Oh,
it
snap.
is a horrible mess. And right now, I think this is what I was alluding to earlier with like it feels like they're cheating a little bit, how successful they've been. Like they somehow tricked this into reality because, dude, like we've been forgetting about it because the games have been so good and the experience as a handheld, just as a core system, is so good. But dude, that online infrastructure is like it's hard to believe it's real. The whole voice chat thing, that is so beyond bad. No one else can get away with that.
Yeah.
But Nintendo, and they only can do it because of who they are and with the IP they have and all that stuff and the fans and all that. Like, it's so inexcusably bad. If they plan on, my only hope is that they yanked the voice chat out of the Switch, because if they put it in there, they would have to drop the graphics of the games down because part of the system would be running all that other stuff, which I'm guessing maybe takes a lot of power. But I mean, if you look at the Xbox and PS4, not really. I don't know how all that works, but maybe Switch 2.0 will be just powerful enough that they can throw that in there and it can run that on the side and still run the games as well as the original Switch does, something like that. So if that's their long-term plan, fine, just get there quickly. But if this is their like, hey, this is it, like here's online, see ya, that is inexcusable. It's really, really bad. And like, I don't know how they think that this was a good solution. And I have very low hopes that it's going to get any kind of better because they're only charging $20 a year once it becomes paid. And I'm sorry, but what that tells me is it's not worth any more than that. Yeah. It's not worth the $60 that PlayStation and Xbox charge you. And so when Smash eventually comes out and has online play, I'm like at like 30-40% chance right now that it's going to be smooth and good. Like, I just don't see it. So I hope they prove me totally wrong and people can come back and say that I was completely wrong, because I would love for it to work. But right now, I have zero hope. It's a disaster.
And we haven't even got to the point of like, if I want to be your friend, you've got to send me this ridiculous Switch code just to be your friend.
Let's not even get into that. Oh my gosh.
How is this still a thing?
That's the thing. Like, once again, nobody else could get away with this. This is unbelievable.
And then the fact that if I bought a game, and this kind of goes back to the virtual console conversation, if I bought a game on my 3DS, it stuck to that 3DS.
Yeah. Like, makes no sense.
Or the Wii U, any game that you download it, like you couldn't buy a different Wii U and re-download it, to my understanding. It was stuck to that one console. Yep. It's like, what? Like, how is this possible? Like, it's just the most absurd thing.
Yeah, the friend code is, again, it's like a bad joke. It's like, I'm not sure I believe this is actually happening, but it is. We're still trading friend codes. And then the third pillar to top it all off of the third pillar of failure, saves, dude. You can't transport your saves system to system, and you have to pay for cloud saves. So, dude, what are you guys doing over there? I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get who is calling these shots. It's crazy.
It's 2018, if I'm not incorrect. We should be well past this in the internet era.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
you can get cloud storage for everything. Like, and it's pretty inexpensive, but yet Nintendo is struggling in all of these areas. Kind of crazy, but yet still crushing it nonetheless. Let's kind of move into just kind of where we're at in the present. Mainly present, even looking forward more, because and within the last, we say year, so I'm not talking Zelda, even though you could mention that, ARM, some of those launch titles, kind of looking summer on, some of the big games that came out. We've got Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Those are kind of the two major first party, outside of, the funny thing, all these Wii U remakes. So you've got, you've seen a couple of the memes of like, Wii U video games sold, everyone bashed them. Nintendo Switch title, first party titles, and it's all of the, Mario Kart, Bayonetta, Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, soon to be Toad Tracker. What am I missing, guys? Some of the other Wii U re-releases.
I think that's it, isn't it? Sounds like all of them.
I mean, the Wii U only had 12 games, so.
I mean, yeah, I'm just, and nobody played them, so.
It's like,
yeah.
I mean, there's plenty to play again a lot of times because of a lot of the indies, but I feel like, and I spoke about this in some of the past episodes, is Nintendo's kind of in this weird, like last year, 2017, every month you kind of had a major first party. 2018's been a little bit different. It's kind of lived and thrived off of Wii U re-releases and indie games. Yep. And so there's, and kind of people are still playing Odyssey, people still playing Zelda because those games are so good. Yep. But they've last E3, and they've kind of been hinting at this at Treehouses and Directs and whatever. The future has a ton of potential, but we don't know exactly what that looks like. So upcoming releases that we have dates for, we've got Octopath Traveler, we've got Mario Tennis Aces. We don't have a release date, but we're almost guaranteed that Smash is coming in 2018.
September, calling it.
You're calling it September. There you go. And then we've got some other games that we haven't got exactly release dates for, but they've already hinted at a new Pokemon game or a couple of Pokemon games, Metroid Prime 4, Yoshi something, Bayonetta 3. Those are kind of the major first-party games. Is there anything there, guys, that I'm kind of leaving out or missing?
Those are definitely the tent poles. Those are the big ones. There's been a hint. There's been very, very faint rumblings of a Star Fox spinoff, but I don't know how much evidence that has. But that wouldn't be a tent pole. But those are the big ones for sure.
So let's do this. Let's take it. What are some of those other tentpole games? We may or may not see this, and we can transition this maybe into our E3 conversation of what we need to see from Nintendo. But if there was a couple of those tentpole major first-party games that you guys would like to see on the Switch, or feel like we kind of need to see outside of, again, Pokemon, Metroid, Yoshi, again, Bayonetta 3, even though probably a lot of our community is not probably getting into the Bayonetta games. But what are a couple of those other major Nintendo games that you're like, we need to see this within the next, or hopefully this is maybe already in development in the next 2 years? What are a couple of those titles that you'd like to see? Jonathan, let's throw it out to you first.
This isn't really something of personal interest, but so far, Pikmin 4 has been vaporware. And yet, last we heard of it, it was confirmed to be in development. Matter of fact, if I recall correctly, Miyamoto himself said, he either said it was in development or well into development, like it wasn't some half thing. So, and that was a long time ago. So it totally could have been scrapped. It totally could have been scrapped by now, but it hasn't been confirmed one way or the other, and we have heard nothing. So I don't know. I feel like Pikmin 4 would crowd against too much other stuff going on in 2018, but I feel like we should hear something about that game soon if it's still in development. That's all I can off the top of my head.
Logan, you got anything off the top of your head that you're kind of thinking?
I've got one.
Nintendo.
I've got one that I would personally like to see, and I think it would just make sense for them because, a lot of people love the more casual, laid back kind of games. The more like casual gamers enjoy the kind of just laid back experiences. And something I think Stardew Valley has done really well on the Switch is be that game. But Nintendo has a game like that in their pocket that I think that they could see a ton of success of on the Switch, and that game is Animal Crossing. I think
Yes, dude.
and especially if they manage to get the online right, and if they manage to do it really, really well, and it's a solid connection, I think they could just blow it up with some social stuff. They've already done that with the app, and I think if they just take some of those successes from there and put it on the Switch, it would definitely be. I'm confident enough to say I think it'd be a system seller. Even, if you have a group of friends that can get together in a town, decorate your houses, clean up the community, do these different little missions and quests and things like that. I mean, that's powerful right there. You have a group of friends buying one game. I mean, we've seen that in the group even. We'll be asking each other, hey, are you picking up this game? And they'll say, yeah. And then we've got like 10 people buying one game and we're all playing it. And I think Animal Crossing, if done right, can be one of those games to the point where people are like, yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and get a Switch so I can play with my friends from work. But that's just one of them. And I think if they did it right, it would be a system seller. So other than that, I would love to see them make another F-Zero.
Dude, yes.
Especially with the way they put 2 tracks into Mario Kart. It's like, stop teasing us. Just bring us a new F-Zero already,
Right?
Yeah.
But I think that one, I think Star Fox needs another chance after, what was it, Zero on the Wii U did so horribly.
Yeah, that game. Trash.
So
It looked like
that was embarrassing.
It looked like a Nintendo 64 game.
Yeah, and it controlled worse than one.
Yeah.
And even, I've got one, but one game that we even forgot. They did even recently announce, like, again, we don't have a ton of info, but Monster Hunter's coming to the Switch. Just think about that game when it hits. That game's going to be crazy, but that's just another note that kind of came in my mind. But like, a game that I think we have to see, and I've kind of alluded at it and hinted at it earlier, we need a great Mario Party game.
Yes.
Absolutely.
With the Joy-Cons, being able to play it on the go, taking it with you, setting it up. When you're playing Mario Party, you don't need usually a ton of screen space because usually you're doing something goofy with with the controller or the Joy-Con or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not, they're not usually like, you don't always have to have your own little square. A lot of times it's one screen, you're kind of competing all on the same surface. And it's got to go back to its roots. The Wii U version was not fun.
No.
It was kind of like they tried to use a whole gamepad where you can go 4 versus 1. Everyone's in a cart. You need to get back to the board game style where everyone is trying to get stars. You're going against each other. Sometimes it might be 1-on-3 or 2-on-2, like all just the different gimmicks that go into the map. Give us, or just straight up give us Mario Party 100 that was on the 3DS. Give us that upgraded on the Switch. It's gonna sell. Like those games, I went to play. We actually had some friends over the other night. We put in Mario Party 1, and I'm like, of the 3 that were on the 64, 1 is probably the worst by far. 2 and 3 were just great. And it's like, man, these games used to be so good. And even once they got on the GameCube and the Wii U or the Wii, there were some solid Mario parties on there. But man, the Wii U version, like a lot of things in the Wii U, took a major step back. So man, I just think you've got all these Joy-Cons everywhere already. A lot of people got multiple, sets of Joy-Cons. They're already prepared for it. That's a game that hopefully, we will hear something in regards to that. I just hope that they didn't get burnt so bad on the Wii U version. But they made Mario Tennis could not have done any good on the Wii U, and they brought another one of those back. So hopefully they're just kind of considering most things Wii U a wash, and they're going to create new like in-depth versions of some of these games. So that's a big one for me. Is like we really need a Mario Party on the Switch.
You know, when you said the Joy-Con thing, that reminded me of one that a franchise I really, really, really want on the Switch, WarioWare.
Ooh, dude.
That game, because could you imagine, dude, you talk about the whole pop off 2 Joy-Cons and hand them one to your friend and play versus WarioWare on the go? Are you kidding me? That would be rad as heck. Like I would, because WarioWare, the original WarioWare on Game Boy Advance, I freaking loved that game. I played it so much. And I've played various other WarioWares. The Wii one was a little motion heavy. It wasn't that great for me personally, but dude, I would love to see a return to form, crazy, fast-paced WarioWare minigames collection or something like that.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Now let's talk about E3. So we know E3 is going to be made like major Smash heavy. They've kind of led to that, but we know we're going to see probably some updates on some of these games, whether that's Metroid, Pokemon, a Metroid Pokemon game, who knows? But we're going to see some updates to some games. But what are a couple other things that you'd like to maybe surprise you at E3 from Nintendo? Logan, let's go to you first.
Well, Nintendo, let me just level with you. All I want for Christmas, I mean E3. Well, no, Christmas too. Just give me Metroid Prime 4. Give me a date, because that would surprise me, because I'm honestly expecting that game to come out in 2019 at this point.
Yeah.
So if you give me a 2018 release date, that's a surprise. If you tell me Pokemon is coming in the fall of this year, that's another surprise, because again, I don't think either one of those are coming this year. I'd love for them to. I don't think it's going to happen, but if they both show up on there, that'll surprise me. I'll even throw this in here because I just thought of it and it would be super random. If you give us a new Kid Icarus game, that would surprise me. Would I be particularly hyped about it? Not really, but I'm going to buy it. So, just saying. That would surprise me. Just some kind of like revitalization of an older franchise. I mean, this would surprise me, and I'd probably shake my head at Nintendo, but I'd still buy it anyway. If you guys give me a new Ice Climbers game, I'll buy it. I don't care.
Dude, that would be so awesome.
It'd be so awesome. It'd be so weird, but
bring back Bubble Bobble. While we're bringing all these old NES games, let's get Bubble Bobble out here.
Let's do it.
Talk about co-op.
Let's go.
Public service announcement. Bubble Bobble isn't that fun.
What?
Yeah, but on the Switch. Although,
yeah,
I mean,
I'm happy.
That was a great NES co-op game for its time.
It's pretty, for its time, yeah, it's pretty good. But.
Yeah, is it good compared to the multiplayer games we're getting? No, Jonathan, it's not as good. I agree.
Can we,
for the NES, it was like that and Contra. That's all we had.
Can we all agree?
Contra's bad, but come on, Contra holds up.
Can we?
Double Dragon, I guess.
Contra
it was sweet.
Up. Can we all agree though that Dr. Mario is pretty amazing?
Sure.
Dude, the music alone. You kidding me?
See, I can't tell if anyone's being serious right now because I was totally joking, but.
I don't ever play those games, so
I'm not much of a match game person.
I don't know.
But Logan, I have to ask you this, and I know, like you have your hype and your dreams and all that, but like serious answer, like what you think is realistic. Do you think for Metroid Prime 4 we are getting either one of three things: either a no mention at all, or a CG only trailer, or gameplay? What do you think we're getting this E3? For real?
It depends on how long that game's been in development. Because I mean, last E3, all we got was a title card. That's it.
Yeah,
we got some little Adobe Premiere graphic intro thing, and that's it.
An After Effects showcase.
That's it. After Effects. We'll probably get a CG trailer. I don't think we're gonna see gameplay. If we see gameplay, I'll be shocked. But yeah, I think we're just gonna get a CG trailer. I don't see. Again, it depends on how long that game's been in development and how fast that team works. But I don't see us getting gameplay this year because I think the game's gonna come out next year.
I 100% agree. I think because they cannot ignore it. If they just like ghost and don't mention it, people will riot. Like that they can't do that. So they have to say
leading
something.
The charge.
Yeah. So they have to. I just want to see. Honestly, all I want to see is Samus's new design. That's it. I just want to see what she looks like. Yep. I want to see a various suit. Just give me, even if it's like key art, I don't know, something. I just want to see what it might look like, like what they're going for, and I'll be happy. That's what I'm betting we're getting.
Fair enough.
And that's my kind of big question with E3 is how far in development are these games that they've talked about but haven't really. Again, Pokemon, they mentioned that with like they didn't even have an image last year. It was like some guy sitting doodling something on a table. Like,
don't mind me,
yeah,
guys.
we got Pokemon. Yeah, we got Pokemon coming. We're like, what? And everyone freaked out because some random dude was like, yeah, Pokemon's coming. It's like, tell us something we didn't know.
I'm doing the concept art right now.
Yeah, basically. So it's like, how far was that game, or is that game in development? Metroid Prime, how far is that game in development? Smash, how far is this game? Yoshi, again, all we got was a Yoshi. Didn't get anything with it either. How far are these games? Like, were they keeping their cards so close to their chest? Were they more in development than we think? Or are they really as far away as we think they could be?
Yeah, I mean, Yoshi, we've seen extensive gameplay. I think that's an easy 2018 game, like guaranteed. But like, yeah, I mean, once again, though, in the category of things only Nintendo can get away with, a dude at a desk with a pen and paper saying, hey, guess what? We're making a Pokemon game. Like, Phil Spencer can't do a video of him sitting in his living room in his underwear going like, hey, Halo 6 is on the way, guys. Like, it doesn't, like, again, I don't know, like, people got so hyped for that, and I understand it's Pokemon on Switch, but like, I can't believe they got away with that. Like, that's really lame. Like, give us a title. I don't know.
Here's my question, and we'll end with this one. Do you guys see there's been a lot of discussion in different, podcasts, different Twitch streamers? Do we see something in regards to an upgraded or a like Switch 2.0 or just a Switch dock or like some sort of different other like base unit, something other than the base unit that we're getting now? Do we get a Joy-Con-less Switch? Do we get a Switch with more than 32 gigs of storage? Like, do you guys think we see any type of system upgrade conversation at E3, or does it stick mainly to games?
Well, first of all, Japan only has dockless Switch for sale now, officially.
For sure. Yeah.
So that's a thing. I don't know how. I'm not saying that's an indicator, but it is happening. If they weren't at 18 million sales, I'd say maybe, but they are. And so I think it's like, why even change anything right now? Why offer anyone anything else when your base model is just flying off the shelves?
Yeah.
So I would say probably not, but who knows?
I would just like to point out that they are coming out with a new like a slimmer dock kind of thing, or I guess it's a stand. I don't know if it actually charges or not.
It's some I think it charges, but it doesn't HDMI out.
That's tabletop mode only. Yeah, it won't go to your TV.
Okay. There's that, but that's just a neat little accessory. Yeah, I'm kind of with Jonathan. I don't see why, when they're just crushing it right now, why they would change the system up, because I feel like that would just muddy the waters too much to where it's like, well, which one do I buy then? And I feel like with the system, they should just keep it kind of as is. I don't think they really need to change anything. Plus, I actually kind of like the Joy-Cons. So,
yeah, the only thing I could see them doing is releasing. Okay, I don't know if they just stop producing them or maybe they do a price drop until they're all gone. But I could see them upgrading the 32 gig memory at some point, hard drive, to something larger, potentially. They may not feel like they have to because of SD cards, but that's something that, 32 does not give you much, especially when you got games like NBA 2K coming out where you're required to have an SD card in the game, in your system, before you can even play it. So if they're going to be doing that a lot, then I think they could potentially in the future increase it. But other than that, I don't have a ton of really thoughts on it. I've already got mine. I don't really care. I'm not going to upgrade mine to the Switch Pro unless it's something sweet, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, you never know. Nintendo does weird freaking things all the time, so who knows? But
Cool.
I feel like it's unlikely. But
yeah. Well, there it is, dear listeners. That is our state of the Nintendo address. We're a few weeks away from E3, so we'll be getting a lot of answers to all of the Xbox, Sony, Nintendo questions that we've kind of raised. But I think, Jonathan was throwing some shade at Microsoft, but I feel like if depending on what they do with exclusives, again, what a time to be a gamer. We've got 3 consoles all doing some, good things, even if it is a majority of third-party stuff, even on Xbox. The X, again, is the strongest system out there. Oh, yeah. So a lot of really good things coming out from each major platform. And then, of course, you've got your PC gamers who are always light years ahead of us, peasant console gamers. But it's a good time to be a gamer. And so I'm excited to see. It's been fun doing the series. Jonathan, thanks for joining us as our Nintendo expert. So there it is, State of the Nintendo, TRG style.
It's exciting times, man. I feel like I know I give Microsoft crap, but and it's been a rough few years for them. But I don't know, man. I feel like there's a really, really good chance Microsoft is going to absolutely kill it this year. Because they're kind of down and out, and so they have to really blow the doors open. And so I don't know if it's going to be, all the exclusives in the world or what it's going to be, but I feel like they're going to really impress this E3 and surprise us. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. And look at it this way. If Nicolas Cage can still get work, then Xbox can make a comeback. I'm just saying, anything is possible, dear listeners. So
not the bees.
Bees, no, not the bees. I still remember him in Ghost Rider. The camera would kind of rotate around him, and he would just point and go, "You." He did that in 2 or 3 different spots in the movie, and I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever watched. But
his overacting is wonderful.
Oh man.
Oh man.
I might have to go watch some Nicolas Cage movies tonight to somehow get ready for Dark Souls. I don't know how that's going to prepare me to play a video game, but I don't know. I'll find a way. Anyway, dear listeners, let us know what you think about Nintendo. If you're on Patreon, let us know there. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all the places. Speaking of all the places, this has nothing to do. I keep jumping the gun, guys. I'm still reeling from that Dad of Boats thing earlier. But dear listeners, before we let you go, some recos. Jonathan, what should our dear listeners check out? Also, this section of Reco is brought to you by Richard Marroquin, supporting us at the $25. Richard, thank you for supporting us, man. Even when I stumbled. Jonathan, what should our dear listeners check out?
So, God of War was too easy of Reco, so I decided to continue. I love the theme y'all got on that Gareth was talking about, and you were talking about, of just getting outside and just put a game down. It's beautiful weather right now. Go outside. Don't listen to Logan. It's beautiful out there.
Just don't do yard work. Go outside. Don't do yard work.
Go to a park. Go swimming or something.
Yeah.
But not necessarily that exactly. Lately, I have been taking some pretty serious breaks from social media, specifically Facebook. I bailed on Facebook beginning of April, and then early this month, I actually downloaded a copy of all of my Facebook data from all time, the entirety of the past 11 years of my activity on Facebook.
Wow.
And it is extremely thorough. Every like, every post, every photo, everything you've ever done. Downloaded that whole thing and actually deleted my Facebook entirely, so it's gone. And I'm not saying delete your Facebook, but I'm just saying it has been refreshing. I haven't regretted it yet. I'm still pretty active on Twitter, but that's about it. But that's mostly just news. So I don't know if you find yourself really involved in social media and checking it every day, morning, noon, and night, on it a lot, posting, commenting, man, I would just say take a substantial break. Don't just get off for 2 or 3 days. Take 2 weeks, take a month.
Man, some of us trying to run a Facebook group over here. What are you talking about?
I actually just came back to Facebook, so
only go to the Reform Gamers on Facebook.
You can unfriend everybody, but you can't stay in the group over here. You know what I'm saying?
This is the part.
If everybody leaves, Logan's already bowing out half the time in our group, and I'm sitting over here half TRG don't even know that I'm an admin, and I'm like, I guess I can leave.
I love that you're the grumpy old dad that comes in and like corrects everybody. That was awesome.
It's hilarious.
Between Adam and Nate, they're like the grumpy old dads in the group. Like you get Adam's the dad, Adam's the Papa Bear. Nate's the cool uncle until you make him angry, and then he's like, "You dumb kids, get off my lawn!" It's just.
And he's got a cigar to go with it usually, and scotch or something.
Right?
I'm over here just angry because I don't have either of those.
Man.
I was gonna say Nate's the dad, cooking fried eggs with a cigar in his mouth at 6 a.m. and a wife beater. Like, well, get out of here.
No doubt.
I love you.
Dude, that's so him.
So yeah. Don't abandon the Reform Gamers Facebook group like I did, but do take a break. I recommend it. It come back, whatever, but some time off. See what good it does you. Prove me wrong.
I did take almost a month-long Facebook break. It's actually pretty cool. It's really nice.
It's great too.
It's really nice. Adam, what about you, man?
Well, I'll make it easy. I don't really have a Reco this week. I haven't finished too much. And,
what?
Yeah. I've been babysitting nephews and stuff over the weekend. So, again, I don't want to just Reco anything. I want to be standing behind the Sutherland stamp of approval, and I don't really have anything right now, so I'm just going to pass this week.
All right.
I respect that.
I respect that. As far as my recos go, then play a retro game, because I've been playing this Iconoclast game, which is another game I'll write a review for the website. It's retro themed. And it's just it's really good. I'll talk about it later when I finish the game. But there's plenty.
What was that?
Sorry.
Is that Chewy?
Pay attention, Adam.
Sorry.
Adam's trying to get times for solo so he can go see. Yes, and even just not even like a game from the 90s. You can play a retro themed game like just Shovel Knight we talked about on this episode. You can do Iconoclast. You can do Owlboy, which is really good. Just something just retro themed that's just a little bit more easier. Maybe not easy, but just something to kind of take you on a trip down nostalgia lane. Back to when times were simple. You still had Legend of the Hidden Temple Island or whatever that show on Nickelodeon was with the kids running through the fake temple stuff, and Rugrats was still on and it was good, and you had cereal that probably was too sugary, but it was still delicious. The good old days of
the good old days
when I didn't have any responsibilities and I wasn't an adult, I guess. Anyway, just play something retro related and enjoy that. My second reco for those of you that like to read, maybe you're looking for something else, and even you students that are graduating high school. First off, congratulations on that. Second of all, read the book Not a Daycare by Dr. Everett Piper. It's a book I finished this past week, talking about just state of colleges today, how we as Christians need to pursue truth in this, and how we need to cling to the Word of God and hold fast to that, and just remain steadfast in that, and kind of grow a spine a little bit in some areas. I'm still kind of processing the book, but man, I really enjoyed reading through that book and getting pushed on some things, and just getting it straight from someone who's in charge of a college. It was just really, really good read. So that again is Not a Daycare by Dr. Everett Piper. But with that being said, episode 118 is coming to a close. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at TRG Podcast. You can join the Facebook group. Unless you're taking a break from Facebook and social media, then don't follow us there. But you can go to the website, which isn't social media related. So you can go to the reformgamers.wordpress.com for show notes, articles, reviews, things of that nature. You can also go to youtube.com/thereformgamers to see different preview videos we have of different games, episodes of the show, let's plays of like Shadow of the Colossus and Fury, and things of that nature on there. And as always, if you like what we do here at TRG, you can go over to patreon.com/thereformgamers to lend your support. Pledging just even as little as $1 a month helps us out in a huge way. And it gets you sweet perks like early uncut access to all of our episodes, entries into our monthly game giveaways, access to our Patreon feed, so you get exclusive updates to the show and things of that nature. But again, that's patreon.com/thereformedgamers. Jonathan, our third chair, thank you for joining us, man, on this episode.
It has been
again.
a pleasure.
It's always good.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It's always good to have you bring your official TRG chair, your official TRG mic, the podcast, and join us. I'm just kidding. We're not that big time. We don't have custom chairs and custom mics just yet, but eventually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where is my custom mic? Talking about custom mic.
It's a stretch goal. It's a stretch goal. We all get Yeti, Bluetooth, Blue Yeti, Blue. Whatever. I'm done.
Just end it.
I'm done. Dear listeners, until next time, GG and amen.